Start with Dave Merritt. What do you know about him? This is very intriguing for an outside potential hire.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's one that I didn't expect. I don't think anybody expected. I had never really heard much of him, but I did do a little bit of research on him. And I like what I read. I mean, he's been coaching in one form or fashion for 26 years. He was an ex-NFL player himself, linebacker. I believe he's like 52, 53 years old. So he's been around the game a lot. He has 5 rings as a positional coach. And he's coached every single positional group on the defense. He's coached the defensive line. He's coached the linebackers and most recently defensive backs, which is what he's done most of. But again, played linebacker, coached all 3 levels, comes from a Spagnuolo tree, which you definitely love to hear. I mean, that's a defense that traditionally gives the 49ers a little bit of issues. That's the same defense that was able to wrap up in 2 Super Bowls, Tom Brady. So, yeah, I love looking outside and finding somebody different that has a lot of credibility, it sounds like. I'm really excited to hear more about him, and maybe he's the guy.
This is, I think, a really, really good move by the 49ers. And I've been really down on Kyle Shanahan lately because I feel like he made me look like an idiot. I was telling people all year, man, this guy's changed. He's grown. And then he blew it in the Super Bowl like he always does, and I've been pretty hard on him. But now, looking at Spagnuolo's guy makes me feel like Kyle is at least open-minded to learning. Because even if he doesn't hire Dave Merritt, that interview could be so productive. What do you guys do to shut down my offense every time? I mean, all those unblocked rushers, like what exactly did you key on? You want to get this job, right? Tell me exactly what you keyed on. And then maybe we'll hire you or maybe not. But one way or another, that should be such a insightful afternoon for Kyle Shanahan if he approaches it the right way with an open mind.
I like that. And it's funny because I was actually thinking that right before we went live. I was like, gosh, man, if he's smart, he's at least going to drag some information out of this because there has to be something you can learn.
How did you shut me down?
Exactly. And how, and you don't even have to say, how did you shut me down? How would you shut me down? Like you can make it a hypothetical knowing that you just played and these are probably the things that he brought to the table and that they did. And it's interesting because you know that these guys self-scout, but maybe he comes up with a completely different thought process than what you were thinking of. And you're like, oh my God, I didn't even see that, but he's absolutely right. I agree with that. I think that's a great move either way by Kyle.
Other thing I like about this move is it seems to suggest to me that Brandon Staley is no longer an option, which I think is good. Sorry, nothing personal against Brandon. I think it's a terrible fit. And Brandon, if you're watching, I'm trying to save you from being Steve Wilkes 2.0 because that's all you would be. It'd be the same exact setup, the same exact mistake. Dave Merritt, at least, I don't even know if they hire him either, but they could learn so much from him. And seems like he's a little bit older. I like it. I mean, look, if he's a Spagnuolo disciple, I'm interested. And the thing about, can we talk about Brandon Staley for a second?
Yeah.
He's a loser. He got fired mid-season. He gave up 63 points to Aiden O'Connell. No one wants that on their sideline.
Well, I mean,
We got Brandon Staley. Hold up. Wait a second. Brandon.
I mean, one thing that nobody's talking about, and I brought this up the other day, did the Rams not hire a defensive coordinator this offseason? And if Staley was so great, why did they not kick the tires on him?
Good point.
So why would we then hire Staley? Like he was in-house, coached the defense very well. So, I mean, at least the numbers say that. Yet you didn't kick the tires on him when it came to your open spot this offseason. I think there's a reason for that.
One more thing that's interesting. A couple years ago, maybe last year, Vic Fangio was seen as the best defensive coach in the league. Maybe or Bill Belichick. Those two. Both of their stocks went down this year. Mm-hmm. Happens fast. They're getting a little old and maybe a little out of touch. Some of their players really didn't like him. Meanwhile, Steve Spagnuolo been hanging around for like 20, 25 years. Looking at him like, man, is he the best defensive coordinator in the league? He just might be. So I think this is really smart. if you can't beat the Chiefs, you need to learn as much about them as you possibly can. They're the gold standard. This is good.
Yeah, most certainly. They are the gold standard. And regardless of whether you hire them, to your point, you can get some things from the interview. But the thing is that Sorensen and Bullocks, we knew. We talked about it right away. Hey, these are guys that we could potentially look at. I know I brought up Bullocks, you brought up Sorensen. This right here, Merritt, is completely out of left field. And that intrigues me. If they were to hire Merritt, I wouldn't be disappointed in this search taking so long. If they hired Staley, and it's obviously it's not about me. I mean, what do I know? But hiring Staley or even hiring within, even though that was my prediction, at this point, this many weeks past the season, is a little bit disappointing. Merritt at least is something fresh, something new that I didn't think of, and I like it.